We are along a section of the A48 on the outskirts of the town of Bridgend. This unassuming location holds a secret of profound significance. Here lies a hidden piece of World War II history, concealed behind these trees and bushes just beyond this location. A metal fence stands guard. Step closer, and you'll discover the remnants of a forgotten era. As we peer beyond the confines of the fence, join us as we unveil the mysteries hidden behind this metal barrier, and uncover the untold stories of World War II history waiting to be rediscovered. Welcome to Bridgend, home to the Island Farm Prisoner of War Camp. Today, visitors from near and far flock to the camp, drawn by the allure of local history and the intrigue of wartime tales. Guided tours and educational programs offer a glimpse into the past, allowing visitors to walk in the footsteps of those who once called this place home. Reenactment groups breathe life into the past, providing a living history experience for visitors. With displays of World War II weapons and equipment, these dedicated enthusiasts transport visitors back in time, offering a first-hand glimpse into the daily lives of soldiers and prisoners during the war. Amidst the echoes of history, the NAFI ladies continue their tradition of service, providing a comforting presence amidst the reminders of conflict. Just as they did throughout the war, these dedicated women offer refreshments and a friendly smile, ensuring that visitors feel welcome and cared for during their journey through time. But let's delve deeper into the history of Island Farm, unraveling its layers of significance and shedding light on its role in shaping the course of World War II.
My personal role within the group as regarding the Island Farm camp, I basically take on the project's role of restoring the upkeep of the buildings, everything to do with the last remaining hut that is on the site. To me, it is a passion. I think that this part of history, especially locally in Bridgend, really should be remembered, and the crowds attending today really show to me that the work that we put in is definitely worth every minute we spend down here. This camp was originally built for the Royal Ordnance Factory.
So this is sort of representative of what the dorm rooms would have been like when this was the hostel for the Royal Ordnance Factory. It's probably a lot more homely than they were. Obviously at the time the walls would have been finished, you'd have had the hot water pipes and they'd have had like a wash basin and things. But what's more likely from the pictures I've seen is that they had bunk beds, and what you would have had is 4 people sharing the one room, and you'd have 2 on and 2 off, and they'd just rotate the shifts, because obviously in the wartime the factories had to be churning out ammunition all the time, so you needed to have rotating shifts constantly. So yeah, they were quite sparsely furnished in that you had sort of, the bunk beds, a wardrobe and a wash basin, but there was tons of facilities around. They had a cinema on the site.
The site was vacated for the D-Day landings, which left this entire camp empty. So as the Allies were invading Normandy, they were taking German POWs, which need to be brought back to this country and housed. This camp being empty was a perfect site to hold the captured Germans from the Normandy campaign. The camp was a lot more cushy than any other POW camp located throughout the UK. For example, each room had central heating. They were given 3 meals a day, and in Germany, in fact, it was known as the soft camp. At Island Farm camp, The actual building that you can see alongside me, the largest escape of German POWs took place from this very building on the night of March 10th, 1945, where 70 German POWs escaped via the tunnel at the end of the building.
This is the BBC Home Service. Here is the midnight news for today, Sunday, the 11th of March, and this is Alva Liddell reading it. 70 Germans escaped from a prisoner of war camp at Bridgend, Glamorgan last night. So far, 23 have been recaptured. Hundreds of troops, police and civilians have been taking part in the search, and it is thought that the men may have found cover in the Welsh hills and sparsely populated valleys, or in the caves and sand dunes on the coast a few miles from the camp. Many former Home Guards living in the area have volunteered to help in the search.
As we are at the moment, we're now positioned at the rear of Hut 9 building. The item that you can see in front of you is the actual lid leading down to the floor of the escape tunnel. The depth from ground level to the floor is approximately 6 foot 2 inches. It is nowhere near as deep as people make out. With it being opened, in fact, if you look down now, you could probably see some of the original clay balls that are still on the floor of the tunnel. Luckily, I was on site when they did a survey on the tunnel, and thankfully I was invited down to view the tunnel before it was all covered back over. I can show you exactly where it exits. If you could see through the bars, that is the original camp boundary, the concrete post with the barbed wire. Just to the rear of that, you'll see a tump of soil in the field.
Yep.
Yeah. Alongside that tump are the 2 large stones that I said that the Germans used to cap off the tunnel before the escape. And I know it's there because I've personally been over there and I've located the exit point of the tunnel. So we estimate the overall tunnel length to be around about 45 feet. So once they exited the tunnel and they were given the go by a watchman who was in the windows at the hut, ensuring them that the guard had now passed this area, then another 1 or 2 would come out of the tunnel and make a dart directly across the field to the large oak tree that you see at the other side.
So now we are looking at the exit point of the tunnel where 70 German prisoners escaped. They ran across this field and they all met by an oak tree at a rendezvous point there and went different ways. During this time, a prisoner gate crashed the escape with a white kit bag and was spotted by the guard tower all the way up there on the far corner and was actually shot. He wasn't killed, but was taken to hospital. It caused quite an alarm with the surrounding area because I imagine the gun was heard. And then the prisoners obviously got away. Some went into the town, some went to the beaches and to the sand dunes, and possibly up into the mountains and the valleys. The local Glamorgan constabulary was alerted, and then a search was taking place. And I know for a fact that my grandparents lived in Barry, and as soon as it was announced on the radio, my auntie and my mother weren't allowed out in the back garden for fear of being kidnapped. And that's true. So in Bridgend town centre, or just thereabouts, a local doctor left his car open. So two German prisoners, or three was it? Three German prisoners accosted the car but couldn't start it. So they looked behind them, and walking down the hill were three Tommies, drunk. They've just come from the pub. So they thought they were Czechoslovakian or Polish workers, and they bump started the car and they got away.
Most of them give themselves up. There was one group in particular, remembering it was March and it was freezing.
Yeah.
And at the time there were a group of Girl Guides camping, and three escapees gave themselves up to a group of Girl Guides. Oh, Molly, our camp mascot. Yeah. And he is really sat on the roof of the tunnel. Well, during the escape, the game was given away. The camp then had to be closed down while the British did surveying, checking every building to make sure that there were no more tunnels dug. There were in fact one more tunnel discovered at the other side of the site, which meant all of the inmates were then reallocated to various POW camps throughout the UK. Because it was at the last event I was approached by the daughter of a prisoner of war that was held here, and information was passed on to myself as regarding the antics and the marriage of her father to a local girl. There were in fact two POWs from this camp that I'm aware of that married local girls, and up until recently the last one has just passed away. Whilst this camp was Camp 198 during the time of the war, the local residents were very wary. For an example, a lot of people wouldn't walk along the A48 at night solely for the sounds of the German POWs singing up to mischief. It really put a lot of people off. But while this camp then reverted to Special Camp 11 after the war that held the German High Command, they were mainly officers and gentlemen.